stealing a page from the great video editor himself, Andy Carlson, tonight. Minnesota Wild lose 5-2 at the hands of the Detroit Red Wings. Bruce Boudreau put it simply after the game, this is the worst performance he has ever been a part of as head coach of the Minnesota Wild, front to back. A porous effort against one of the league's worst hockey teams, a team that the Wild could just not get any shots on goal against, and they allow some of the highest shot rates against per game. They give up a lot of goals per game, and because the Wild were not able to get a lot of shots, they didn't get a lot of goals. It was pretty evident that Jimmy Howard didn't have it tonight when the Wild got shots on goal. They got a couple goals. Luke Cunnin, very stoppable puck, got by Jimmy Howard. The Wild went up 2-1 in this game, and the Red Wings come back with 4 unanswered goals. They steamrolled the Wild. Why? How do you let the Detroit Red Wings, the team in last place in the Atlantic Division, and they are a bottom 5 team in the National Hockey League, far and away a team that is not going anywhere, to come in to St. Paul and just completely mop the floor? How? I thought about it a little bit after the game, and this is basically what it is. This is the Minnesota Wild. The 2012 through present Minnesota Wild is this: a team that will always play down with their opponents. Ryan Suter said it after the game. He was asked point blank, did you take these guys lightly, or was it a little bit of the crazy schedule the Wild had? He said both. They took them lightly. He didn't even try to cover it. He said, yeah, they took them lightly. That should say all you need to say right there. The Minnesota Wild of this era have always taken their easy wins lightly, and it's cost them many, many points. I always go back to that game in 2013 when the Wild had a chance to clinch a playoff spot at home against the Edmonton Oilers in the second to last game of the season, and they got obliterated by the Oilers, who I believe they went on to win the draft lottery again that year. They were bad. This is the Minnesota Wild. They will always be a team that has to scrap and claw their way into the playoffs because they know no other way. They know no other way to play great against good teams and beat the teams they need to beat. They always find a way to make it difficult on themselves, and then they have to scrap and claw their way into the playoffs before they get mopped the floor by whatever powerhouse team is awaiting them in round 1. I don't envy Paul Fenton at all. He's basically inherited a team where moving anything for anything is teetering on impossible. Through various reports from, the summer till now, we know he's tried, but getting decent returns isn't happening. That's why nothing's changed. If you want to rebuild the Wild, that's fine. That's your opinion, but the problem is you would be sending players away for nothing. This is the Minnesota Wild that we saw tonight. This is the last 6 years. This has been the perfect example of this team's MO. I don't know how people continue to buy tickets to watch this. I am perfectly fine watching them from home. Hey, you want to spend your money on the Wild, good on you, but if you just don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, what's the point? That's what I came to. If you still see a light at the end of the tunnel, good on you. I worry that Paul Fenton's move to try and shake this team is a head coaching change, because it's getting pretty close to obvious that he's not going to be able to move any of these players for anything at this point. And getting rid of Bruce Boudreau would be a huge mistake. I hope it never gets to that point. What an awful game. I probably should have saved this rant for the new Giles and the Goalie Podcast coming out tomorrow, but whatever. I'll hit on it again. I had to let it all out here. Pitiful. Anyway, have a great Sunday.